Hello everyone. Thanks for joining today. Today I'm going to speak on the topic of building secure apps with DevOps in Azure. And about me, my name is Mohammad Asif. I'm a Microsoft MVP and cloud solution architect in Abraham Bank in Singapore. Uh, I have done my master's from NUS, and so this is today's agenda. I'm going to talk on the topic of how we can secure our applications with the help of Azure DevOps. And initially we'll see what is the DevSecOps, one of the important topics, and then we'll see in today's world for the applications, what are the reasons of attack and what are the application design problems. And because this session is more focused on the application security, so we'll see how we can mitigate application design problems and security. Then we'll go on the DevOps pipeline security, and we'll see what are some security analysis tool available. And at the end of the session, we will see some demo how we can secure our connection strings and how we can build automated pipelines, DevSecOps pipeline with the help of Azure DevOps and Microsoft Azure keyboard. So before start, what is the DevOps? DevOps is basically it's a way of working which enables development teams to deploy the application faster. But how this is a normal usual process of DevOps, like which enables us development teams to deploy the application faster in with the help of DevOps. But what about the security? How we ensure our applications are secure and stay secure with continuous integration and delivery. And the second question comes is like how you can fix and find security at the early stage and how we can process and fix it. Because when we find the security at early stage, it is easy and less costly to fix the bugs and problems finding on the later stage. So DevOps security and DevSecOps is nothing but a practical approach or working with software development team and operation team, at which includes the security part as well. So initially in the DevOps, we used to do the development, we used to deploy, and we used to monitor and find the feedback. But when we include the security part with the help of monitoring, threat enabling, scanning, at the different stages of the pipeline. So that is called DevSecOps. So let's understand means at what stages security can be enabled and at what stages what are the attacks we can have in the whole development and deployment pipeline. Securing applications, as we know all, it's a continuous process which is securing our infrastructure, either having means at the security at the different layer of the architecture, or maybe having monitoring and things. So if you can see in this, in the planning stage of the DevOps pipeline or building the code, we can have a design vulnerability, we can have the coding vulnerability, and we can have a supply chain vulnerability, maybe, and we can also have a web or email, means like we receive the emails which is vulnerable, or we can have attacks on such process. And then at the coding stage, when we deploy our code, either we are using means because most of the time as a developer we are using third party library or tools in our organization, and which might be dependent on some other libraries, and that is not regularly updated. So it might be a vulnerable situation at the stage of building the code. So how we can avoid such things, and the stage of testing, how we can have means in suppose let's say for in testing and production, means like our infrastructure is secure or not, what are the kinds of attacks we can get at the infrastructure level. Maybe our infrastructure is not very updated, or maybe whatever the services which we are using, it do not prevents all types of attacks. So that's how we face different kinds of attack at different stages of the application development cycle. So what are the reasons of these attacks? And reasons might be like lack of monitoring capabilities. We don't have such capabilities of monitoring. Means we are not able to track the uh, attacks at the application level, or maybe infrastructure level, or maybe code build level or DevOps pipeline. So our infrastructure is quietly outdated, or maybe we have a library which is quite old and regularly not updated. So these kind of and whatever the so if we are finding the bugs on a time and if we are resolving, so it's like suppose we have received we are doing the development and from coding to the production stage, and later on we find out the bug which is at the development stage. So that bug might cost a lot, and we have earlier there are a lot of incidents happened because of some simple bugs. Means companies have received a lot of very big fine. As I remember that in one of the financial institution in Europe from last year, means like they were charged 200 billions because of some small bug. So that kind of bugs might be at the later stage. It will be very costlier compared to the earlier stage, as we all know, and it's one of the most important bug, means like SQL injection attack according to the OS. Uh, in that, what exactly attackers do is it usually gets the access directly to the data. And how they do, there are many ways they can do that. Means like suppose your authentication process is not very good, so they might get attacked to your application web app, and they can get your access to your data. Or there might be a scenario that like let's say we are when the COVID means like came, and after that all organizations moved to the online process, right? So previously we used to have a firewall, we used to have a network security groups on the both front end and back end level. So our database used to reside in the back end subnet, or they used to have a proper means routing rules and firewalls to secure the data. But when we changed to, and it used to be in private VNet network, but and we used to work from the offices, so there was a less issue with getting access means to the data from the outside environment. But when we change to online environments, so suppose we are residing in some other location, maybe around the world, and so we have access to our private network by VPN connection and all. So we used to usually directly get the access of the data. So later on we realized that means like organizations realize this data can be exposed to outside the world, and SQL injection attacks was most probable one. So to avoid such things, Microsoft came with the concept of Microsoft Authenticator app. So now we are moving to the passwordless approach. So that's how there are some ways we can prevent such attacks by using Microsoft Authenticator, or maybe some OAuth or such things. So this is one example how we can have attack, from different environments. So according to Azure security benchmark, basically means like we have different levels of security. We have a development security, we can have infrastructure security. In development security usually comes our DevOps security and application security. So today I'm going to focus on these development security aspects. And infrastructure security is more on securing your network, securing your identity and access management, how you are providing the means least access to the users, or how you are going to ensure the security of your network by creating maybe a private VPN network, or maybe providing a private endpoint, or such methods to having a least access to the other environments. Or maybe for data protections, how we are going to ensure the data protection security with the help of private endpoints, or maybe some other approach by, let's say suppose you are in Azure storage, so you can have a an access enable like soft delete, so to means like no one can delete the data. And maybe you can also create a shared access signature, some particular group or network. So that's how we can protect the data. And asset management is like in the whole life cycle of how we can secure the process of asset management. And logging a detection, threat detection is like how you are logging your errors and how you are detecting the threats at the initial stage. So it means like at the application design level, at the initial stage of when you are designing your application, so you can have some mechanisms to threat detection, like threat modeling. So we have already some predefined tools. Later on in the session, I will show how exactly with the help of threat detection. So you will get the assessment, you will get the suggestions like what are the components you need to look to improve your security and then how you can create an incident response. Like suppose if there is an incident happen, so how it's the incident response, whom should be assigned to and who will be working on that. So and from the endpoint of secure endpoint security is like to whom you are giving your access from on-prem or means external network, how you are going to create your endpoint security, creating a private endpoint or service endpoints, or how you are going to ensure your backup and recovery is secure, and how you are going to govern and strategy point of view, how you are design your whole governance model in terms of ensuring the security. So these are the some Azure security benchmark controls which applies for development and infrastructure security both. So in this session, I will be going to is discussing more on the development security. So what is application security? Application security is more on how we are, it's a continuous process of involves securing our infrastructure, layered architecture, or continuous validation or attack monitoring. What in terms of securing infrastructure, like how our application is secure either on-prem environment or with the cloud, or means like we have a proper means like VNet network, or we how we are all the components in our infrastructure are means like properly given access at the identity and access management level, or means like how the traffic is passing to the applications, how is going to be a firewall, is it going to be a WAF or front door, how it's the traffic is going to be filtered in that. And layered architecture in terms of how we are going to ensure our code process is secured in terms of code review, in terms of means like code check-in process. So we have like in DevOps, we have certain tools which we can do the dynamics and static code scanning. So in later on, I will show how exactly that will happen. And then we have continuous validation at the different stages in the DevOps. We have gates concept. So that's how we are validating. Okay, this is and it's like whoever is creating the pull request, so we are reviewing the code. So that's how we are ensuring the security of the code. And attack monitoring, if there is some attack happen, so how the requests are being filtered at the different level. So that's how we are ensuring the security at the application level. So by focusing on these aspects, so organization can ensure that their security of their application is their application is secure and they can mitigate the potential risk. So we need to always consider that there might be attack and we need to prepare for it. So there's no foolproof system, and there's scope for attack. So is there any questions, Sanbhai?
It's okay.
Okay,
It's
thanks.
okay. Please continue.
Yeah, so from application security point of view, we will see that when we do the designing of the application, so what are the process at the early stage, how we can detect the bug, and what are the process we can use, tools we can use to decide, okay, these are the components we need to secure, and these are the steps we need to follow. So there is a process called threat modeling. Threat modeling is a basically core element of SDLC process, Microsoft Security Development process. And with the help of that, we can identify the threats and attacks and vulnerability. And it consists based on the five models. modeling steps like defining security requirements, how we are creating the application, and how exactly they are communicating with each other, and how we are identifying the threats and how we are validating the threats with the help and how we can mitigate them. What are the steps we need to follow to mitigate them? So they will be in the threat modeling tool. So Microsoft itself provides a threat modeling tool which is free of cost. So let me show you how exactly threat modeling happens. Then we'll go move forward for the DevOps security part. So this is a Microsoft threat modeling tool. Maybe you can just download also. This is today only I have downloaded this called Microsoft. Later on, I will provide this link. Let me in the chat box. Let me provide in the chat box. So this threat modeling tool is with the help of means I have for the demo purpose. What I have done is I have created a one simple application which is Azure Web App, and it is interacting with the Cosmos DB. And this whole both the apps reside in Azure Trust Boundary, which is in Azure Network. And we have from the browser we are sending one request to create the data or get the data, and it is sending the request to the Cosmos DB to retrieve the data. This is a simple request which we have done. And suppose if you want to interact with some other applications, so like Key Vault, or let's say suppose if I want to ensure my connection string in Azure Key Vault, so I can also have Azure Key Vault assigned here, and then we can have means like because first of all Azure web application will request to the Key Vault, and all the connection string will be saved. Then from their connection string, our request will go to the Cosmos DB. But yeah, let me just delete this. And so this is the means like suppose if you are designing your application at the initial level, so this is how you can include all the components related to Azure, Microsoft Azure, and these are all given here. Once you drag and drop, then you can do assessment of your reports. So you can go and do the analysis view. In the analysis view, it will show you all the possible errors and possible mitigations. So you can see in this, these are the possible mitigations. This is the description of what exactly it is. And so let me just check one. So you can see a compromise access key may permit having more access to the Azure Cosmos DB instance. So they have given the possible mitigation like using a SAS token or scope of tokens, how we can means like giving the read-only access, store the secrets in the Azure Key Vault. So these are the possible steps or mitigation steps they have also given. So for let's say suppose this one, like how we are going to get the request from web Azure Web App Service to Cosmos DB. So in this, you can see an advisory can get unauthorized access to Cosmos DB due to weakened network security configuration. So, and how we can do that, restrict the access to the Azure Cosmos DB configuration, account level firewall rules. So this is how first means like if we do the design at the initial level, at the application design level, so means like we will get an idea how we can secure our applications at the different levels. So this is we'll get the basic understanding of and there are several other tools available as well, which is more robust because it do not provides any live it is provides only the offline assessment. So suppose if you want to do some online, so there are other tools available for that. Let's come back to again the slides. Now now next comes under for the DevOps security. So DevOps security is basically in security in normally what we understand from security is more on the access control part. how we are hardening our environment, how we are doing our perimeter protection. Basically, securing DevOps includes these traditional methods, and on top of it, it also includes in security of automation practices in different environments, like how we can do this assessment, security assessment at this coding level, at the when we check in our code, and after that how we can do the security assessment when when our code is running also. So there are many things we need to address while we are doing the secure DevOps, like is my pipelines is consuming third party components, are they secure, or are there known vulnerabilities in the third party softwares, and how we can quickly we can detect that, and how we can quickly we can remediate, maybe how we can resolve those vulnerabilities. And there are also like is the code is written means like, because there are some static analysis tools like SonarQube and now CodeQL. So in that you will get your coding assessment also, means like if you have written some which is the way you have written the code is not secured, so they will give you the proper assessment of that at the phase of static analysis. So let me tell you what is the static analysis and dynamic analysis. Static analysis is a part where when we don't need to execute the code. So execute the code, it means like when we have checked in the code at the CI level, continuous integration level, and we are doing the security assessment. So there are some tools available. I will later on I will show you what are the tools for doing the security static analysis. And at the time of CI integration level, means when we are checking the code, when we are doing the debugging, means or when we are doing the assessment, so we can use a static analysis tool. Dynamic analysis tools are more on when our code is running, and so there are tools like OS Zap, which we can include in the Azure DevOps as extension, and we can do the dynamic analysis for that. And there are also security tools available for the cloud side, so which is called Microsoft Defender, as example, Microsoft December, and there is also cloud is provide for basically doing the our static analysis, dynamic analysis, and the network scan all. And for like suppose nowadays when we are building the pipelines for the infrastructure as well, so we were using a one tool called terrascan for our terraform building pipelines, for scanning the vulnerability. So and for the docker images nowadays, not docker images, we already have ACR, like ACR, which is Azure Container Registry. So all the docker images are properly signed. So because in the Docker Hub nowadays you see that if the images are not properly, same applies to Docker images as well. If the images are not properly updated, or it's a means legacy one, so means and the image is not signed, so you will have issues with that, security issues with that. So that's how when you are checking the code in the Docker ACR Azure Container Registry, so image is properly signed, and means like which is more secure approach compared to is that. Now next come is, so what is basically how we can ensure, so what is the difference between the DevOps and DevSecOps? What are the extra components we receive in DevSecOps? Means like when we talk about the DevSecOps, if you see in this diagram, we already have in the DevOps pipeline, we already have development, monitoring, dynamic scanner, dev theme. All the components are already available except the package manager and source scanner. These two are the extra components we receive with the help of DevSecOps. So these are the two components which relate to security of the pipelines. So basically, the package management is a process. Basically, it's like how we are adding our packages and in the pipeline to the pipeline, and what is the approval process, so what are the steps in that. So this is how done by the package manager. And we also know that the NuGet package manager provided from Microsoft, And it is also called source scanner. Source scanner is also a scanning of the source code. This steps is basically for the security scanning and checking the vulnerabilities. Source scanning tools are basically like Sonar Cube, Code QL. So these are the static analysis tool which is available for doing the source scanning, like a Sonar Cube, Code QL, and Visual Studio also having a Visual Studio code analysis, and Roslyn security analysis, Chermax. These are the some static analysis tool. And dynamic analysis tools is more on OSZAP. This I have personally used. It is quite good, which is for web open source web application security scanner, and it also having extension with Microsoft Azure DevOps, which is quite quietly updated, very frequently updated. And there is also called tool called Bulb Suite. It's a very powerful tool, and it is used for means test scanning, for dynamic scanning, vulnerability scanning, and penetration testing all. And Microsoft also provides a GitHub Advanced Security and Dependabot. So whenever you check in your code in GitHub, so there is a Dependabot which will do the your security assessment, and it will provide you the notification. Maybe when you are opening your GitHub, so you will see a lot of notifications. So Dependabot is keep on running, and you have to enable it from the security module to do the assessment. It will provide you all the uh, assessment advice. So if you want, you can accept it, and that's how you can create the pull request to update your that. And for cloud security tools, Defender for the cloud and Cloud Exploit are the two. One, Cloud Exploit is also very good. It's open source and it is used for static and dynamic assessment both. uh, when we do the security assessment in DevOps pipeline, so basically we do at different stages, like when we create the pull request, or when we are doing the continuous integration, the dev and test. So we follow the shift left approach. Shift left approach is very helpful. Why? Because shift left means we detect the but we detect the vulnerabilities at the early stage, means maybe because we are doing the development, uh, when we are doing the development, so this is the in the left corner, so adding id or pull request. So we have a different tools for static analysis tools, code review or work items. So if we detect the bug at this stage, or maybe the ci stage, it will be very easy to fix, and there will not be much impact. But when we are going for later stage, maybe production, or if there is any which is application which is very high impact, so and we found the bug at the later stage, so it will be very costly. So at the different stage, you can see we have different test, like for when we are building the code. So we have validating in the CI/CD before begins. When we do the commit, so we have a static analysis tool in the ID which provides defense to help security vulnerabilities, and using Git source control in the, also we can also do the branching policies in that. And also means like the pull request should be, whenever we are doing the pull request, so that also should be reviewed by some other developers or maybe the senior person, so who is working on what work items. That's how we can detect the bugs early. Along that, we have also means like manual checks at the different stages. So approval process, which is called in the CI pipeline. So we have OSS vulnerability scan, unit test, and code metrics. And the dev stage, we have penetration test, a cell scanner, infrastructure scan with the help of tools like Terrascan. And there are some also test available, which is off peak hours, maybe off working hours. You can say that nightly test for testing our load performance and automated test. So the shift left approach is strategy is very helpful to detect the bugs at the earlier stage, maybe at the requirement of the architecture. Let's just call threat modeling. So if we find out this might be a bug, or maybe this might be a scenario that we can receive vulnerabilities, or maybe the coding stage or integration stage. So if you see the cost of the bug, is at the requirement stage is very less, but when it goes for the coding, so it becomes 5 times. Then when it goes for the integration testing, it becomes 10 times, and yeah, vice versa. When it goes for the production, so it becomes like 50 times costlier. So the shift left strategy is very helpful in terms of reducing this at the fixing the bugs at the lower cost, improve the efficiency of the software development, and improve the product quality, and reduce the time to go to the market and a competitive advantage. So these are the some process you can say means like we do in the day to day means like basis. That's how the DevOps principles are. DevOps is nothing but basically how our development process is smooth and how early we can detect the bugs with the help of feedback. So this is how the development approach should be there. So the shift left approach is really helpful in detecting the early bugs. So now I'm going to see the demo. So in demo, we will see a very simple process I am going to show. I'm going to deploy one simple application, which is .NET Core application with the help of Azure DevOps pipeline. And in the DevOps pipeline, I'm going to deploy on the Microsoft Azure App Service. And because why I have taken this demo is most of the development scenarios, the first is like first issue we get is like how we can secure our connection strings, and there are various ways to do that. So that's how I am going to explain today how we can secure our connection string with the help of Azure Key Vault and DevOps pipeline. So what we are going to do is we are going to create a .NET Core app which having a Cosmos DB account in the backend, and we are going to secure our connection string with Azure Key Vault. And in second stage, we are going to automate this process with the help of Azure DevOps. How we can secure our connection string? We can secure our connection string in a couple of ways with the help of Azure Key Vault and manage identity. And then third is the Azure app configuration and Azure environment variables. In Azure Key Vault, which we are going to show, is really helpful with the help of when you are interacting with application which is third party or maybe the external application. In that kind of scenario, this approach is really helpful. Why I have taken this approach in the demo is because suppose you are running application which is maybe hosted on some other network or some other part place, and how you are going to register the application on Azure, and how you are going to secure your connection string with the help of Azure Key Vault, and how you are going to automate the process with the help of Azure DevOps. So this is the whole idea behind this demo. And the another approach is manage identity, which I maybe in upcoming session I will cover. Manage identity is really helpful when you want to go for the passwordless approach, or you just want to use Azure Manage Identity to interact between the web application and database, and you don't want to expose any connection string or anything to the app settings. So that approach will be, but in that approach, your both application will be residing in Microsoft Azure network. It's not for the outside. And Azure app configuration is really helpful in terms of like suppose you want to secure your connection strings from different environment, like for development environment, for production environment, and for ET environment. And you want to, let's say because there is also some really good features like called feature management, or which is helpful in terms of like canary deployment. Canary deployment is what is like, suppose you want to test the application with some particular audience group, and with the help of feature flag, you can do that. And even though there is a in the feature flag there is an option called routing the traffic for based on the percentage or based on the time, like you can route the traffic. Suppose your traffic is 100% and you want to or route the traffic of 20% to particular group. So this you can achieve with the help of feature flag in Azure App Configuration. So all the different approach having a different benefits, and environment variables are obviously helpful. I will show in the demo itself, means like with the help of Azure Key Vault and environment variables, how we can secure our connection string process. So what are the steps involved? Because there are two steps I'm going to show. Sorry. One is, I think, first is we are going to register an app with the, because this is the third party app we have, and which is Azure.NET Core app we have, and which is having a database Cosmos DB, and we want to secure our connection string to secure our connection to Microsoft Azure Key Vault. So what we need to do, there are a couple of steps we need to follow. First of all, we need to register app in Azure AD, because we are treating this application as external application. So that's why we need to register our app in Azure AD. And after registering the app, we'll get one client ID and tenant ID. And we will also create in that application a secret, and then we'll assign the permission to access the key vault. So I think it's better to let's jump to the demo and see how exactly this happens. So let me show you, this is my Azure Cosmos DB application, which is a CRUD application I have made. And this is my connection string. I have already created a Cosmos DB. This is my connection string, and I want to save this connection string in Azure Key Vault by Azure account name, key, database, and container name. And this is how I am retrieving my connection string, initializing my connection, and getting the database name, and the whole CRUD operation is happening. Okay, so this is my connection string I'm going to save. So first of all, what we need to do is we need to register app in Microsoft Azure app registration. So I have already registered one app. Let me again register techform demo. You just need to register app like this. After registering the app, what we need to do is we need to note down this client ID and this tenant ID. Now what we need to do is we need to create a secret. So let's create a secret, app secret. This is the client secret value. So we need to copy this client secret value. And this is secret ID. Now what we need to do is we need to provide a permission, because this app which we are going to interact, we need to have a permission because to access the key vault. So we are going to give the permission to access, because we are going to save our connection string in key vault. So that's why we need to give the permission to Azure Key Vault. And we are also going to automate this process with the help of Azure DevOps. So we are going to give the permission for the Azure DevOps. Now our this process is done. Okay, now let's go move to now what's the next. We have already created registered the app. We have secure our client ID and tenant ID. We have done the client secret, and we have added the permissions. After creating and this, what we need to do is after creating the key vault, make sure you have a necessary permission. So now let's create the key vault to store the all values, right? So let me go and create a new key vault to store all these variables. So key vault. Actually, today morning I was getting one issue in the key vault. Maybe later I'll explain. Let's create a new. Yeah, so let's go and next. And we are going to do with Azure role-based access, or you can also choose the vault access policy. Means this will be helpful for suppose you want to means create the keyword only for a specific purpose, like for secret management or for key management. So that's you can do, but I will choose that this one, and let's create a key vault. After creating the key vault, we are going to save our connection string information, which is nothing but account, key, database name, and container name. This might be any connection string. You suppose if you want to save your whole connection string, you can save it, or you want to save your connection string, maybe the key value pair. I think that's how also you can do that. Uh, for me, means like when I was saving the whole connection string, I got the error like in because there was some quotes happening. So this is how you want to truncate your the means like because there will be single quotes or double quotes will come. So how you want to is truncate in that scenario, you can do that, manage that. But I think I find out it's better to do with the help of key value pair. So now what we need to do is we need to add in the secrets. So first is account. Oh, this error. So this error I was getting in the morning itself, and why this error is happening is because I haven't given the permission. So you need to give the permission to as a key vault administrator, and yourself, and maybe let's add it for the app as well. Now let's add and see. So now you can see my account details is added. Now let's me add the key value. SMI, I have a time, right? Or
Yeah, Simbe.
I
You
have
have.
a time.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so you can see I have added all this connection string value in my key vault. Now I want to access this connection string from my from my app, right? So what I need to do is I will make some changes in that, and will show how exactly we are going to access this connection string, because this is this if you are checking your code with means like app settings and having connection string. First of all, you will get its email alert from GitHub that your connection string is exposed, and you just need to change. And secondly, it's not good you just checking your connection string, or maybe you have any sensitive data in your app settings. So the best way is what we have already saved in our connection string in key vault. Now what we want to do, we want to retrieve this value of with the help of key vault. We want to interact our application with the key vault and get this connection string, right? So to access the key vault, I have already removed my from my connection string the Cosmos DB connection string, and I have given the key vault. Key vault can be accessed with the help of vault ID, client ID, and client secret and endpoints. So what is the vault? Vault is my nothing but my key vault name. Okay, and then endpoint is your that's my endpoint, and client ID which I have already created, which is my app ID. Right, this is my client ID. And client secret, when I've added the secret value, so I have got the secret. Means let me show. So this is my app registration. In app registration, when I have added, so this is my client ID. So we'll provide this client ID, and in the client and secret, we have this value. So this value we need to provide, and we need to provide our key vault URI. So this we need to provide, but again, means like whenever we are providing key vault value, client secret, and all those information, so this information is vulnerable, right? Means like it will be exposed. Our key vault details will be exposed, and someone can get the access to our key vault. And I don't want to expose my key vault details as well. So how we can do that? Means like how we can avoid that scenario. So if you are in development environment, so what you can do is Microsoft Azure Visual Studio Code provides you a feature called manage user secrets. So in the manage user secrets, when you want, you can when you click on that, so you will get the JSON. What you can do is you can in the development you can store your key vault secrets here, and which will not expose to your app settings. So app settings will be whatever you value you want, you can place here. So you can see my key vault details, client ID, client secret, all the information is there. And when you are doing the development, so it will replace the value from secret.json to apps settings.json, and you will be able to run your code successfully with no errors. So let me show you how exactly we are able to run. So this is the first change we will make. And another change we will make, because now we want to connect to Azure Key Vault. So to connect to Azure Key Vault, what we need Azure Key Vault URI, which is URL, and second is the client ID and client secret. So that's how we will able to set up the connection string connection with the Key Vault. So that change I'm going to make in my program.cs, which is in the connection string. So if you see, there is the only difference is in my previous code program.cs, I don't have any means like you can say a configuration. So what I was doing is I was just initializing my startup.cs. So this is the only change I have made in my config.azure key vault. And to before that, to recognize this, what we need to do, we need to add two NuGet packages. So let me name what is the NuGet packages name. So the two NuGet package is like Azure extension app core configuration.secrets and key vault. There are two NuGets package we'll add it. So let me show you. So you can see here, I have two, one is, let me extend it. So one is Azure Key Vault and one is for the secrets. So the two NuGet packages I have added in my here. And that's how I am building my root connection string to connect to the key vault in program.cs. And this connection I am passing to the startup.cs, which is startup.cs. And this is the same in like how we are making the connection to Azure Cosmos DB by passing those parameters. And because from key vault we will get account details, we will get key, and we'll get container names, all the database name which we have already saved in our Azure Key Vault. Azure Key Vault, account name, container name, database name, key, we will receive by passing the value of Azure Key Vault, right, from program.cs. So that's how we will able to make the connection. So let's see. Yeah. So you can see my application is running, and now suppose I want to save as a Maruti 800 card. So this application is completely fine running in my local with the Azure Key Vault. Now what I want to do is I want to automate this process with the help of Azure DevOps. Because now what we have seen is we used to have a application.NET Core app, and which application app settings was like Cosmos DB app settings. This app settings I want to secure, and same as this, you might have a SQL or whatever backend database, and you want to secure your connection string. So you can either you can use Azure Cosmos DB, means like whole connection string, or you want to save as a key value pair. That's your choice, and how you want to means like secure your connection string and get the data. Because why I haven't said as a key value pair is when I was getting the value from program.cs, sorry, in program.cs, when I was getting the value from connection account dot to string and configuration key dot to string, after connecting to key vault, it was coming with some other characters. So I don't want to means like I just want to avoid those things. So that's how I have saved as a key value pair to connect my database. But it's your choice how you want to save it. Okay. Now what we need to do is we need to miss we will what we'll do the checking of the code, and later on we will see in DevOps how we can because we will give means we'll check in only the app settings.json, and app settings.json will not have any key vault value. So how we'll get the vault client secret and endpoint details in to connect to my key vault? That will be another thing, right? So what we can do is, so this is how you have seen already. I have given Azure account container name. So now what we want is, and we want to create a pipeline to connect to the key vault. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new pipeline. I have already checked in my code. So after checking my code, you can see the application. This is my all application Azure Key Vault. Sorry, that's not this. This is my app settings.json, and if you see, there is no either connection string of Cosmos DB or Key Vault. Nothing is there. I also have one app settings.development. I will show what exactly why we need it, and actually we don't need it, but what's the best use we can make it. I mean, it's like suppose if we are doing the development, so how you can replace the value of the key vault. So with the help of environment variable. So in earlier I have mentioned there are four ways: with the help of Azure Key Vault, with the help of manage identity and the app settings, and for final one was the environment variables. So with the help of key vault and environment variables, we'll see in pipeline how we can secure. So what we are going to do is we are going to create a pipeline to publish the code on Azure, Microsoft Azure App Service, and we want to also, because our code will be only a build file, and in that, if we want to connect to Cosmos DB, so we need to have means our connection string which is saved in our key vault, and key vault details we haven't provided. So how we can do that? So what we are going to do is I'm going to use a classic editor. Either it's your choice, you want to go for it's like YAML based or classic editor. For this demo purpose, I thought it's better to do with the classic one. Uh, you can use Azure Git repo, GitHub, or based on your choice. And I'm going to choose apps core. Now, so in my agent job means like I'm going to choose with the Azure DevOps pipeline, and I'm going to run with the Ubuntu latest. So these are the few changes I need to make at the initial stage because I don't have any testing code. So I'm going to remove the test stage. But yeah, it's better to have. So this is a basic pipeline available for us. Restore command, build command, test command, publish certificates. Restore is basically you want to restore your all NuGet packages, because when we are checking our code in GitHub repo, we are not going to check in our NuGet packages or any build bin files, right? So you want to restore the packages, and then you want to build the packages, and after that you want to yes, publish the changes, and you want to, because these all will be available in the uh, miss artifacts directory, means, and you want to, because, and once the VM is, because when we are running a Azure DevOps pipeline, it will be for some particular moment our um, Ubuntu VM will be available as your pipelines, and after that when we do the build pipeline, restore, build or publish, and it will destroy. So we want to download our packages, so that's why we are using publish artifacts for that. Now what we want is I am using sorry, let me show you. In my repos I'm using two. Now our first objective is to connect to the key vault, because connect to the key vault, for connecting to the key vault, what we need is we need okay, so what we want is we want to connect to the key vault and get the uh, key vault means variables which we have saved for the Azure DevOps, for Azure Cosmos DB string, right? So, and before that I have few things, just let me add it. PowerShell scripts, let me add at this stage PowerShell. Okay, and one more, replace tokens. I will, I'll explain why we will need that. Okay. Okay. I think so you can see I have two variable, means like one is a pipeline and second is this variable group. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one variable group. So to add the variables, because this variable group will be needed for connecting to the key vault. So I'm going to add key vault details. I have already one key vault available, key vault secret group. So if you can see, which I have added earlier. So in that I have client ID, client secret, endpoint details, and vault. So this is my for my old key vault. So old key vault means like I have a endpoint, client secret, and client ID. So for the new key vault also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the same. Let me just copy paste. Uh, Client ID, client secret, endpoint, vault name. So this is the value we need to provide. So let's get the details first. So my this key vault name is this one. So vault name is this. My client ID was I have already saved earlier. So this is my client ID. And endpoint details will be this one. Sorry. Yeah. So what we'll do is we will save these details. And now what we need to do is we need to link our variable group. So we have done the link, the variable group. Okay, so we got the value. Now what we need to do is let me just open quickly. So this is the PowerShell script. What I'm going to do is here is I'm going to copy from my app settings.development.json to app settings.json. Why? Because if you see my code here in app settings.json, app settings.development.json, I have a value key vault, and client ID and client secret and endpoints. Actually, this value should be there in app settings.json, but in app settings.json, which is my production connection string, I don't want to expose anything or maybe any variables or anything. So what I have done is I have created one app settings.development.json, and because these value will be required, but to detect the environment variables which I have recently created as a in the library. Sorry. So in the library, if you see these environment variables which we have created, yeah. So these environment like client ID, client secret, endpoints, vault. So these environment variables will be replaced. The value will be replaced in app settings.json first. In app settings.json. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to in the when we are running the build pipeline, I'm going to replace development to app settings, and then we are going to build the code. And in the final stage, if you see in my pipeline, there are two steps. First of all, I'm going to replace the file. Then I'm going to replace the token. Replace tokens are nothing but this token values, which I'm going to replace. And then I'm going to publish the artifacts. So once my artifacts will be published, So that's how I will build the pipelines, build pipelines. And after running the build pipelines, I'm going to create one release pipeline which will use my artifacts. Actually, I have already created my build and release pipeline. So let me show you quickly the steps to run the pipeline. So in the steps, you see when the jobs is executing, so it's have already initialized the build. Now the restore process is happening. Now it's building. And what the PowerShell script will do, it will replace from app settings development.json to app settings.json. And you see that it is successfully replaced. And now after replacing, these values will come into app settings.json because this value is already replaced here. So after being replaced, we will replace the actual value which we have already saved in the library. So once this value will appear in app settings.json in the library, in the pipelines library, which we have already linked our secret values, right? Client secret, client ID is the actual value. And this will values will be available in our build pipelines, right? Let me close so many. Yeah. So now you can see I have already means the artifacts are published. So now we can go and see in the pipelines. You can see one artifacts is there. So let me go to the artifacts and download. So in this published artifacts, we will see what is the connection string. Let me open. So if you can see here, app settings.json. So now you can see in the app development settings, we have, let me open in code. So you see that my development setting is same, but my production is changed with the help of with value of key vault. Now I have Azure key vault, key, client ID, client secret, but in my code, actual code, there is nothing here. So it will be only on the runtime. It's nothing here. So now what we need to do, we have already created the build pipeline. What we need to do is we need to create a release pipeline. So to create a release pipeline, what you need to go release. Because I'm going to deploy this build artifacts to my app service as well as an app service. So yeah, let's go add first add the build artifacts so you can see which build you want to dismiss like deploy. So latest one, or maybe you can choose some particular version if you are required if you want, and you can choose because to avoid my subscription to expose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use service connection. Service connection, how you can, because I have already created two service connection. Service connection helps to avoid your subscription to, it's more secure way to connect with the Azure. So what you need to do in project settings, you can come to the service connection and you can choose service connection, Azure resource manager. And after choosing the Azure resource manager, you can choose the service principal. You can provide your service connection name and you can choose the subscription in which subscription you want to, and make sure you provide the grant access to all permission. If you don't want to provide the access to all pipelines, so you can uncheck. But suppose if you want to provide the access this subscription to all pipelines, so you can do that. You can choose which resource group I have. Suppose I have text forum demo, and I will provide some particular name because already I have created two service connections, so I'm not going to create any new one. So this will help you to expose without exposing. You can just do establish the connection. And what is the app service name? Suppose you have already created app service, so your app service will display here, and you can just save and run the pipeline. I have already created the release pipeline, so which is successfully run. You can see here. Means like it will get from the your build artifacts from, and after that it will deploy to the Azure as an app service. Let me show app service how it is. So you can see here, I have already added the in the dev. I have added. Now let me add another one. So you can see this application is deployed without exposing the connection string, and it might be your any applications. It might be your .NET application, Java application, or any third-party application which is deployed in some other network, and you can communicate with the help of you know registering your app as an app per registration in Microsoft Azure, and then you can get the client secret and client ID, and you can provide the details in your connection string to communicate. So that's how this approach. Now let me jump back to the. So what are the changes? Means like what are the steps was involved? So we have first registered the app. We got the client ID and tenant ID. Means then we have registered the secret. The secret helps to establish the connection between Azure Key Vault and means to your app. And then after that, what we have done is we have provided the necessary permissions to access the Key Vault to the app, because the app can access the Key Vault. And because we were using DevOps and Key Vault both, so that's why I have provided permission for both. And after that, means like what we have done is Key Vault we have assigned the, because when we have created the Key Vault, I don't have permission to add the secrets. So that's why I have added my new role as a Key Vault secret administrator. And then I was able to access the, let me show. So if you can see in IAM, means check my access. What are the roles I have assigned? I have this this techform app service Key Vault. So you can see here I have Key Vault administrator role, and this, after adding this I was able to add the secrets, right? Then we have means like suppose if you want to means like go for only, you don't want to go for the RBAC, you want to go for the only means access policy. So you can choose access configuration, and you can change from Azure rollback access to world policy. And after choosing the role world policy in the access policies, because currently it is not showing, so let me choose and show you how exactly it happens. So once you will apply, so and suppose you want to oh, yeah, so now you can see I have you can create the access policies. Like suppose you want to manage your only secrets, you want to manage the keys both, you want to do certificate management, everything. So let me there is also some templates available. So suppose I have choose secret management, So this will be all checked, and we can have only secret access from the key vault. Okay, then later on what we did is in our app, we have added the NuGet packages uh, extensions, and then we have modified our program.cs file to connect to the key vault. And later on, we have modified our startup.cs file to set up the connection for the Cosmos DB connection. So this is my old connection string. You can see there was a Cosmos DB account, key, database name, all. But when we have added the key vault, so there was no Cosmos DB connection string. It was only the key vault client secret ID. But I don't want to expose my vault client ID and client secret also. So that's why I have used app settings.development.json and app settings to replace the files, and with the help of environment variables, we were able to achieve. And to connect to the key vault, there was two things I have done. Means like I have created the connection string to the key vault, and then I have set up the connection string to the Cosmos DB. Uh, in the second stage, what we have done is we have deployed the app to the app service with the help of Azure DevOps. So what we have done is we have created a classic iterative pipeline, and with the help of environment variables, we have replaced our app settings development.jsons to app settings, because app settings development.json contains environment variables. So which was this one. So app development.json, it contains environment variables, and this was replaced in the app settings in the pipeline. And that's how this environment variables we have saved in pipelines library to replace the value, the client secret, client ID, which was the actual value. Okay. And we have linked this variable to the pipeline, and then we were able to create a release pipeline to deploy that. So this was the development.json key vault value, and this was replaced in the app settings.json. So yeah, so if anyone have any questions till now, so yeah, I'm open to questions.
Thank you, Asif. Um, someone someone has asked that how test automation is implemented in this pipeline.
You mean to say test automation is
Right. He wants to know the how he can integrate test automation in this pipeline.
in this test, there are a couple of ways. Like suppose you want to do the static analysis of the means the security analysis. So you can use the Sonar Cube Code QL, and there are a couple of tools. And from the GitHub also there is a Code QL and GitHub Advanced Security options.
Okay.
I haven't covered because I was this session was more on the how we can secure the connection string. But in going forward in coming sessions, I will also explain how we can use the Sonar Cube or other static analysis tool, Code QL or GitHub Advanced Security, to perform the automation testing at the static testing. And then later on, there will be another sessions for the dynamic testing tool. Suppose if our application is running on the live environment, so how we can use a dynamic testing tool to do the proper testing. So yeah, I think I let's good let me just show you. Maybe I was earlier I have explained it's like there are a couple of ways to create uh, I think this is close this. So this is I have used this actually over Zap Scanner for in Azure DevOps for the dynamic testing. Means like suppose you want to test your, like suppose your code is running in your development or QA environment or production environment, and you want to do the testing. Means like for some particular group, like a granary department, some particular group of the users. So you can do the OWASP Zap Scanner, which is a really good tool for that. And for static analysis, there is called Sonar Cube.
Is these
And
tools are for unit testing or for
for
other
Sonar
areas?
Cube, yeah, Sonar Cube is for like code
Unit
quality.
testing.
Yeah.
For unit testing. Okay, that will be
There
very much interesting. Actually, it's very much challenging to test the business logic and other things. Say how the business logic are implemented in the application are okay or not. This sort
Yeah,
of
and
things
these
need
tools
to
are
test.
very helpful for that. And there's also called GitHub Code Queue, which is provided by
Okay.
GitHub. And this is also a really helpful tool for doing that. And actually, nowadays, GitHub also provided GitHub Advanced Security option. So whenever you check in the code, there is also called Dependabot, which runs on your code, and it frequently provides you security vulnerabilities or all the related informations. But so far, suppose if you want to do a particular static analysis tool, I think SonarQube is the best one compared to
Okay.
other. Yeah.
Asif bhai, are you using any performance testing tools? Say stress
Uh,
testing.
as of now, I have not used, but Microsoft Azure provide Azure performance testing tool.
Okay.
Although I haven't used this, but yeah,
Okay.
performance.
If there is no more question,
Yeah, and yeah, I'm already running out.
One
I
question
think
from me. Asif bhai,
okay.
so you were showing your session that using Azure Key Vault, right?
Yeah,
So if I have an just a Azure function and I am using my database, some secret client ID client secret, and storing that in generic like configuration, Azure configuration, right?
correct.
So is it feasible to store that with an Azure key vault, or it is safe enough to using that Azure connection configuration itself?
There are two different purposes actually.
Okay.
If you are going to, because there is an app configuration, actually that's why I was earlier explaining. There are a couple of ways. Uh, Means to suppose if your database is also in Microsoft Azure
Yeah.
and you are using Azure functions and
Okay.
you're having web applications which is running on Microsoft Azure, so you can go for passwordless like manage identity approach.
Okay.
And but suppose your database is like Oracle or maybe some other like other database which is completely on-prem, right?
Okay.
So this key vault approach will be good, means like because you register as means application in AD, and then you get the client secret and other details, and which I showed in the demo, and
Yeah.
that's how you connect to the either you are using Azure functions or means that that will be. But there is also called app configuration, which I was explaining earlier. In app configuration, what you can do, you can completely save. This is good for, like, suppose you have different environments like dev, q and testing environments, and you don't want to store means in Azure Key Vault. But what you can do is you
Okay.
can use app settings. Yeah, this one you can use. So in that there is a configuration explorer. You can see, you
Yeah.
can all your dev key, and even though there is an option called key vault reference, so you can it's like store all your keys with the labels and secrets. And there is also one of the really good feature called feature flag. Feature flag
Okay.
is really helpful in case of suppose you want to do a testing with particular group or maybe some 20% of the user. So means in this what you can do is this is miss this will be really helpful in case of like use the feature filter. So in feature filter what you can do is you can create a percentage, like you can divert your 20% 30% of traffic to the particular app, or suppose you want to have a testing with some particular version of your application. So
Okay.
this feature manager app you can do that. That's
Okay. Okay.
yeah, really helpful because we
Understood.
used to have some on-prem databases and others, so we were using app configuration for that. But few of the workloads we used to have in completely in Azure, so we were using this manage identity feature or Azure Key Vault.
Understood. Understood. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So maybe whatever the demo I have done, I have already created the two blocks for that. So maybe let me share the
Yes, it would be very much helpful for us to get
Yeah.
your links.
Yeah. So I will share my slides as well later on. So this one, so this is a step-by-step approach. Whatever I have done today, I have provided both. So yeah, you can refer.
Yeah, it would be great to check it. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone have any other question? Um,
Mm.
yeah.
No, exactly. Don't have any question right now.
Okay. Thanks.
Asif, can you please share your email address so that if anyone interested to ask any more question, they can ask you
Sure.
in your convenient time, in her or
Yeah.
his convenient time, if you don't have any problems.
Sure. Sure. No problem. No problem. I have already shared in my chat. So
Okay,
yeah, you
thank
can
you very
also
much.
ping there, or maybe you can ping me on Twitter.
Asif, one question is there. Someone asked that what would be the costing part if he has 10 members of 10 team member and using this Azure DevOps, what will be the costing
Uh,
uh, required for monthly costing? You want to know that if so far his question, so far my understanding is that he has a team of 10 member, and he if he want to migrate in this environment, how much cost he maybe happen monthly basis.
until 5 members, I understand Azure DevOps is completely free. So you
Okay,
can use all the features if you have 5 members. But if you are going for more than 5 members, then you should have a enterprise license for that. So it's like I haven't recently seen what is the enterprise license cost. Yeah, but I think it's not that much. It's based on the per developer license. I think you can get it. Yeah.
thank you Asif bhai, for your nice
Um,
presentation, and hope it will be very much helpful for us.
sure.
Uh,
Thanks,
and
everyone.
thank you
Opportunity.
Asif bhai.
Great to connect.
Hope in coming month we will arrange another session
Sure,
on
Isha.
your
Yeah.
set topics.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Asif bhai.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks
Thanks a lot.
everyone.